Today we're going to give you a demonstration on the joiner. The joiner is you will be using the jointer on every single board that comes through here on your project. So this is a machine that you will be using multi times in your process. Want to go over some of the rules on the safety sheet. The guards must always be in place. Here is a spring-loaded guard that goes in. Now you got to make sure, like, here's the wall, make sure that you feed in correctly. Here's a wall, here's an angle, so the boards always go this way. Spring-loaded guard. You need to check it and make sure that it works. You need to keep your hands 4 inches away from this cutter head. This cutter head is a round drum with 3 knives sticking in it, just like the planer. It has cuts the exact same way. The joiner and planer are a lot alike. The only difference is the planer controls the cut. The table comes up into the knives, whereas the jointer, the board's going down toward the knives. You're going to control that. The fence. We have the fence right here. This is how we move the fence, and you will be moving this quite frequently on all your joining marks. Keep material firmly, tightly against the fence. The cutting head we have set up for you, it's going to cut 1/16 at a time. Now you got to keep that in mind as you're processing this. If you have too many passes on you, you're going to take a board that's proper and you're going to make it too small. Now on this machine, there's a bunch of gadgets and lots of different things on here. Don't want you really touching anything. The only leverage you should be touching on here is the fence lock. All this other stuff is all involved in tuning the machine up so it runs correctly. That's what everything else is for. If you accidentally turn any of this stuff or move any of this stuff, come tell the teacher right away. The only one that you're going to move is this one right here. Make sure you only touch that. The planer. We are just going to edge joint on our planers. Now you can face joint on there too, but for our projects, we are not going to do any face jointing. Only edge jointing for our level right here at the junior high. So no face jointing, only edge jointing. Remember parts of a board again? You gotta remember that. Edge, that is face. We are just doing edges, not ends of boards either, only edges. Always run with the grain, never against it. And sometimes that can be kind of tricky to figure out because sometimes grain pattern on some of the hardwoods, it comes up. And I will talk about that as we go to demonstrate. Make sure you make any adjustment that you're going to make, and the only adjustment, as I said, you're going to have is the fence. If you need to make adjustment on that fence, you got to make sure the power is turned off. Do not leave the machine while it's running. All right. Once again, this machine it's noisy. You need to make sure it's completely shut off. Some of you get so excited that you forget to shut it off, or you don't push the knob hard enough. But make sure it stops so the next person coming up doesn't walk up to a running machine. As I said, we never do end grains or the ends of the boards. When we're going to plane with the board, we will walk with the board. We don't stand back here and reach across like that. We need to move with the board. The board needs to be longer than 12 inches. This board right here is shorter than 12 inches. This cannot be jointed because it's too short. The reason why that is, there's an in-feed table, the out-feed table. It has to have enough wood to sit on the in-feed table because you can envision this. The in-feed table is lower than the out-feed table, and the cutter head is right here. So when the board goes in, it hits the cutter head, and the new height adjustment rides out. If the board is shorter than 12 inches, it will rock at that pivot point, then it becomes dangerous, and the machine just does not do what you want it to do. So, this is called the fence, in-feed table, out-feed table, and this is the guard. Here is the only thing, once again, that you should touch. Now, on your safety guide, it's called a shoe. These I'm not a real fan of. What they have is, they have a rubber guard right here, and that's supposed to grab the wood, but I don't feel like I have enough control over the board to do that. So we have push sticks. We have a common push stick, and we have a push stick that's a little unusual to use at first, but a couple of them you're gonna go at an angle, and by this really does work really nice, because what does it do? It pushes the board down toward the fence to keep it tight here, and it grabs the board and pushes it through. This seems a little weird to use at first, but this works a lot better than just a common push stick. But you can try either one. So now, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna run a board through here where I run some boards. Safety glasses need to be put on. You need to have the dust collector on also to operate this, because it does generate a lot of chips. You gotta remember, all that wood's coming off there. Now, I wanna joint this board. If you take a look, it's below the height of the fence. So there is your indication that it's longer than it's shorter than 4 inches. So what do I absolutely positively need to use any board that's less than 4 inches? I need to use a push stick. So what I'm gonna do is, here's the trick. I wanna know, I love my fingers, I love them intact. So what I'm gonna do is, the thumb goes on top of the board. This part of my knuckle will ride against the board, and my fingers are up in my hand. So I absolutely positively know exactly where my fingers are at all times. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna push, 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 push. This hand does not go in here. I'm gonna push right here. I'm gonna grab the push stick, and I'm gonna push through, then this hand will advance forward once it clears this, and I will continue through. Remember, move with the board. So now, let's make a joint, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust the fence a little bit. I only want enough cutter head exposed so that I don't get hurt. We're gonna tighten this up, check the fence to make sure it locked on us. We're gonna turn the machine on. I have my push stick right here. I'm gonna hold right here. This hand will jump up, come over, and I will walk with the board. That will give me a nice clean cut right here, that's 45. Now here is how I do a board. Look, this board is higher than 4 inches. So now I do not need a push stick, but if I choose to use one, I could. Now once again, fingers up. I'm gonna try and hold it as tightly against the fence as I can. Fingers up back here, the same thing. With the board, look at my edge. Do I need another round? Turn the machine off. How many times do I go through the joiner? You're gonna decide that, or your board will help you decide that. If the edge is really rough or chipped out, sometimes we gotta go this way, But if you start hearing a crackling, chipping noise, sometimes just by turning the board around and putting it through this way will prevent that. If you have any questions on the joiner, make sure you ask your teacher.